Hello, I'm David D. Hilster, my critical thinker. I am a dissident scientist, and I'm here to tell you the truth about science, something university professors won't tell you unless, of course, you're Professor Andre Assis, which we interviewed yesterday, and it was a great honor to have him talk because he is a university professor and he tells you the truth. In fact, he gives you an alternate truth to the truth you learn about in school about electrodynamics, because there's a new idea out there and it's called ampere, and his work, oh, no, it's not new, it's 200 years old, but it's not found anywhere, but he teaches it and students seem to like it. So I guess we can change that phrase a little bit. 99.99% of the professors won't tell you the truth. Mass media won't tell you the truth, and of course those science evangelists won't tell you the truth either. Today I'm going to start a new series. I'm going to call them useless arguments. Useless arguments because when we are debating, when we're below in the comment areas of these videos and we're going along and someone brings this phrase up, and there are many of them, but I'm going to talk about one in particular today because it's very interesting. And that phrase is, hundreds of experiments have shown this to be correct. We're going to talk about that. Why? We're going to start out, why do people say that? Well, mostly because they think perhaps the first idea is that the other side is crazy. The other side thinks the earth is flat. We have an immense amount of proof that the earth, in fact, is spherical. So that guy's crazy. I'm going to make this statement. It's obvious, but I'm going to make it anyways. It's worthless. You're not going to change that person's mind. You're not going to. What are you trying to tell your friends around you that you know this to be, very well supported? No, it's really another reason you may want to do it is because you're tired of hearing someone talk about something, or you hear this argument all the time. You just, hundreds of experiments show relativity correct. I don't know what you're talking about. General relativity. I mean, we have hundreds of experiments that show that correct. Or maybe you're just lazy because you don't want to look at an argument of whatever this person is saying that prompted you to make this phrase, hundreds of experiments. So this kind of answer, or this kind of reason, or the reason we even use this, is emotional. It's not an argument. And let me tell you why it's not an argument. So what are you talking about, Dave? Hundreds of experiments show this, hundreds of experiments show that. Well, the first thing is, when you say that, can you back up what you are saying? Are you certain there are hundreds of phrases, or are you just hundreds? Well, there's hundreds of phrases. Are you certain there's hundreds of experiments out there? Are you certain of that? Did we actually make experiments to prove what you're saying? You can name some, perhaps? Oh, GPS. GPS is not an experiment. So we have to be really careful. The first thing is, did you check what you are saying? Maybe it's better for you to not say 100. Maybe you should say, well, I know of experiments. I've actually read them. And now I've read them, I sort of understand them. And I really, truly believe they give great support for this idea or for this theory or whatever. I think so many people rattle this phrase off with really not knowing if there are hundreds of experiments or even if there's one experiment. So again, not a great phrase to say. They're just repeating perhaps what they've heard someone else say. Oh yeah, there's hundreds of experiments proving Einstein to be correct. Look at our friend, Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who, when he laughs at the idea that Einstein's wrong, says there are hundreds of experiments proving this. There's so many that we shouldn't even waste time anymore even imagining that Einstein could be wrong. And he invokes that a lot. And it's really because it's an emotional thing. You want to show you're superior. You want to show the other person they're stupid. You want to put peer pressure on them because, everybody's doing it. Everybody says it. Everybody knows this is true. Are you going to believe it too? Are you going to be the person that's going to look like a crackpot idiot, or whatever you want to call that person? So you have to be very, very careful that when you say these things, if you have hundreds of experiments, you better have a list of them. You better have read most of them. That's usually not true. So before you start saying that, be careful. The last thing about this phrase is really, really important. And that is, you can have experiment after experiment, data after data, uh, stuff that you have come up with, logic, philosophy, arguments, assumptions, mathematics, all of these things can support an idea. But usually when you say this or someone says this, it's because someone has come up and challenged something that's a lot of times thought to be the status quo. What do you mean gravity doesn't bend light? Huh? That's crazy. But then you say, well, light does get bent, but it is not gravity that's doing it directly. Indirectly, you could say, like Dr. Nadi says. But the problem is, when someone says these things, if you want to engage in the arguments, if you want to engage in the debate, putting up a phrase, hundreds of experiments show something, and this person comes along and says, oh yeah, but look at this. It fails here. And so what do you say? Oh, that doesn't matter. Hundreds of experiments trumps one problem. No. The reason we try to advance science is we try to find the problems. The hundreds of experiments to prove it, I mean, you're probably not going to get even a mainstream college professor to say, I'm going to do another experiment to show Einstein wrong. Einstein? Probably, because you know why? If you do it, you get in the news. Einstein show right again. That's the sure way to get it. So that may be an exception. Mr. Einstein, look, he looks funny there. I like this teacher. He's got to go back to college. So I wear this once in a while. But again, we have the problem of the people who say these phrases are trying to counteract something that someone says that, in fact, if they were to take the time and be a critical thinker, it says, well, let me look what you have to say. That's what needs to be done. And they don't do it normally. A person who makes those types of phrases, I've seen people walk back from them because it's just sort of a knee-jerk reaction. And again, it's an emotional thing. Hundreds of experiments. Like, don't tell me about it. I don't want to know. Everyone believes this, so I'm going to go watch something on TV. Or I want to discuss about the really amazing things with relativity. Why throw a monkey wrench in all this? I don't have time. I'm too old. Blah, 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 blah. So again, useless phrases in scientific debate. Hundreds of experiments show. Just don't use it. If you're a critical thinker, you're never going to use it. Ever. Doesn't matter if 1 billion collisions in a particle accelerator show you X. If you have a very good and compelling reason to show something is wrong, and maybe we have to rethink everything, that's where we advance science. And that's where, if you're a critical thinker, you should never utter this phrase, ever. You can say, hey, I've read these things, and these things to me support this. You can say that, and you can point to them. Then you are telling the truth. But if you say hundreds, most likely you haven't checked it, and you don't even know if they exist. You're just repeating it. So there you go. And as I always say, don't take anything that I say or anyone else on faith. Faith? Faith. Stay critical, stay thinking. I'm Dave D. Hilster. I'm your science therapist. I'm trying to rid you of these bad habits, and these useless phrases are one of them. So please don't use this phrase. Ciao for now.